just thinking about, I mean, this has been amazing today, but an issue around being too selfish. And I guess the thing that my question has to do with being, I mean, I understand it's okay to be selfish, but in relationship.
Can you be otherwise? Can you see other than through the eyes of self?
No.
Well, then that's what selfish is. And do you think that you should advocate for someone else?
No.
Well, if it's all right to advocate for them, but you know why you do it? Because you want them to benefit, and that's selfish. In other words, when you see someone suffering, you put an improved version of them into your vortex. And when you look at them suffering, you deny your own improved version, and you don't feel good. And then you feel disempowered because they won't clean up their act. But it's really your job to see them in the improved way. Otherwise, you can't selfishly satisfy. You see, you keep expanding, and the true definition of selfish is to take this physical self that I call me, myself, and I, to take this physical me over here with the rest of me, to get myself together with me, to line up with all that I am. And that is the best definition of selfish that we could give, but it is also the best definition of alignment that we could give, or of empowerment that we could give, or fulfilling my purpose that we could give. You see what we're getting at? In other words, it really helps a lot when you accept that you and every other person that you know is selfishly oriented. And as sure as water flows downhill, they are going to gravitate toward their own selfish interests. And when you do the same, which means you reach, here's the thing that's so interesting. When you are utterly selfish, do you know what that means? Even though that rascal is selfishly pleasing himself and maybe even doing something that feels inappropriate to you, the true definition of selfishness means you won't let yourself look at that person in a derogatory enough way that it separates you from the way the source within you sees it. So can you hear us when we say that if you could really accomplish the ultimate selfishness, you would be so aligned with the source within you that you would love them all. Somehow selfish doesn't sound so bad when we're talking about someone who loves instead of hates, you see. Selfish means seeing through the eyes of source, aligning with the wholeness of who I am.
Yeah, you know, I get that. And I guess I feel like I can be really feeling amazingly well and really good, and then I'm with my partner and I just am made wrong for as if I'm not giving enough attention to her, or I'm not doing the things that she wants me to do.
Well, you could be compliant to that, in other words, but you would not serve her, because anytime you behave in a way that fills another's outside the vortex neediness, you don't help them, because she can't round up enough people to be selfless to keep her happy. In other words, now she needs everybody to behave like that, and you're the only schmuck who's willing to. We mean that in the nicest way. But isn't that what your marriage vows say? I promise to love you no matter how foolish and irritating you are. In sickness and in health, in aggravation and in grief, I'll be there for you. I won't like it, but I'll be there for you, you see. And you would be so much better to say to them, I so love loving you that I'm going to tune myself to the true energy of love. And I'm going to be such a consistent conveyor of love that you will not be able to use me as a gauge about your behavior, because I'm going to love you unconditionally. I'm going to love you unconditionally. Now, that's a little different than the way you presented it, because we got to tell you, if you are really loving someone unconditionally, they're usually not complaining to you about the way you're treating them. But this complaint is about somebody being out of the vortex and expecting you to drag yourself out of the vortex so that you could be in the same vibrational vicinity. And if you're not willing to go, someone outside the vortex will call you selfish. They'll call you selfish. How dare you stay over there and feel good when you should be over here miserable with me? And we think that's a distortion of selfish. We think that we would say, if we were standing in your physical shoes and they were to say, I don't think you're there for me, we would say, I'm not there for you because I don't think that's who you really are. I'm over here for you. What? I'm over here for you. You see, every time you have a hard day, I put a good day in my picture of you. Every time you feel insecure, I put a secure version of you in my picture of you. Every time you are sick, I put a well version of you. Every time you're unhappy with yourself, I put a happy version of you in my picture of you. And I do my best every day to stay true to that picture. And I've discovered that when I'm true to the picture of the expanded version of you and of me, I'm whole. But if I'm true to the current reality picture, then I get out of whack, and then it's not good for you and it's not good for me. Now, we know this is a heavy duty conversation, but you got to come to the place where you really get it. You cannot get sick enough to help sick people get well, and you cannot get poor enough to help poor people be prosperous, and you cannot get ornery enough to help ornery people feel happy, and you can't get needy enough or dependent enough to help people like that find their security in their own strength. You have to be selfish enough to tune to the energy before you have it to give to another, you see. So when you are selfish enough to tune to the whole of you, and from inside the vortex holding them as your object of attention, boy, do they benefit. Jesus healed people like that. They were sick. He did not focus upon the sickness. He knew their wellness. He knew it so powerfully that he surrounded them with his energy of knowing that. And in that vicinity, if their belief was such, their disease could not persist in that vibration of wellness. It just cannot be. Any more that you can set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7. The frequencies have to match up, you see.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand or figure out how I can maintain that when, and I don't want to make this about her, but she just I already have.
Well, first of all, go to the vortex when she's asleep.
Okay.
And go to the vortex when she's not around. Go to the vortex when it's easy for you to do it. Go to the vortex when you are fantasizing about the day you met and the first time you had sex. Go to the vortex when you think about those things that are easy to be in the vortex about. In other words, go to the vortex, go to the vortex, go to the vortex and think about her. Go to the vortex and think about her. Go to the vortex and think about her. And if you consistently, for just a few days, go into your vortex, which means you feel fabulous, and you hold her as your object of attention, what happens is your relationship with her begins to change. And you'll have more meaningful opportunities to express your vivid, sincere appreciation of her, you see.
Yeah.
We promise you that this conversation is not about how you are behaving for her. This conversation is about your relationship with your vortex. It is. Because if you had established and were maintaining a consistent vibrational alignment with who you really are, you wouldn't be able to feel the discord that she is offering you. Now, this is an interesting thing. We saw a little bit of that as we were having a conversation earlier. When someone is not in the vortex, they are sure that they're right anyway. And they're determined to make you understand the rightness of where they are. And they'll stay after you. And that's what you're talking about. And we know it's not easy to maintain your alignment when you're up close and personal with someone who's not in alignment. It would be far easier to be off by yourself. It's much easier to get into the vortex when you don't have out of the vortex people around you. But you don't have that luxury. because you already have a relationship. So you have to carve out those personal times when you can get in anyway. And you have to make those a bigger part of your life than you have been making them. And when the balance tips, in other words, 51% in and 49% out, your life will begin reflecting whole different behaviors from the people around you. In other words, you don't have to be in the vortex 99% of the time, but most people are not in the vortex 5% of the time. Most people are not. You're occasionally there, and it feels wonderful when you're there, and so you say, I'm going to drink that stuff again.
Yeah, we've been set several dates to get married, and I keep putting it off, or we keep putting it off and come up with reasons not to, and it just, it's like I'm there, but yet I feel like a part of me wants to not be there, and when we have these conflicts, I mean, I'm just ready to end it. But
here's the reason. We'll give you something that will help you, because if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would move forward with it, because we can feel so much vibrational compatibility. There's so much about this person that's in your vortex that there is really so much more reason for you to commit to this relationship than not to. But here's why you're feeling what you're feeling. Because you're not yet stable in your vortex. You're doing what almost everybody's looking. You're looking for somebody who makes you go there easily.
Right.
Which means most of you should marry your dog. Well, think about it. In other words, your dog doesn't hold grudges. Your dog remembers all the best things about you, is always glad to see you, and does not come out of the vortex for you.
We met when she was walking her dog, and yeah. and the dog, the dog's amazing. I mean, so is she, but yeah. I
might want to not bring that up. but here, let's wrap this up in a way that you can really feel.
Sure.
So when you vow, in other words, most people are looking for someone who makes it easy for them to feel good. So really, what everyone's looking for in a relationship is someone who takes them into the vortex. Think about it. Isn't that, knowing what you know about a vortex, knowing what you know about it, isn't that really why you're choosing who you're choosing? Are you choosing them because they make you feel good, they make you laugh, they make you feel appreciation, they make you bask, they give you clarity, they are delicious, they are fun, they are full of energy? In other words, the reason that people turn you on and make you want to be with them in every case is because something about your attention to them causes you to feel better. And so when you finally work that around in your mind and you realize that you're not looking for someone to take you into the vortex, you're looking for your vortex.
Yeah.
And when you look for your vortex frequently and you find your vortex frequently, then the relationships that you choose can be what you've been looking for. It's a much easier way of going about it. Good time for a segment of refreshment.
Thank you.